This is the NFL Play Football Podcast, and I'm Jeff Fisher of High School Football America. The NFL celebrates youth and high school football year-round through camps, activities, NFL flag, and tackle leagues. The Play Football Initiative provides a fun and engaging experience for players of all ages and skill levels, equipping young people with key life skills that are building blocks to success on and off the field. It's Jeff Fisher of High School Football America, and we continue our tour across the great United States and honoring all of the NFL High School Coaches of the Year from the 32 teams in the league. And today we stop in North Carolina. The Carolina Panthers Coach of the Year from Reidsville High School, Jimmy Teague. He was surprised with the honor back before the Christmas holiday. And let me give you a little bit about Coach Teague and what he's done at Reidsville. He's had 2 stints there, but 26 years total, 8 state titles, 339 wins with the Rams, only 58 losses. His lifetime record, 380 and 111. And doing it in a smaller community, Reidsville, about 14,000. I guess I would describe it northeast of Greensboro, kind of heading up toward the Virginia line there. And Coach is on the line right now to talk about an outstanding career there with Reidsville, how he's built it into a power in the state of North Carolina. And, of course, the award, we'll save that for later. But, Coach, thanks for taking the time to talk with me today.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, congratulations on the award first, but when you hear numbers like I just threw out there, the 26 years, the 8 state titles, all those wins, very few losses, what goes through your mind? And don't tell me you're old, because that's what most people say.
Yeah, the first thing that goes through my mind is how blessed I've been. The good Lord has definitely blessed me to be able to be a part of this community and take part in such a great program. And again, like I tell people all the time, it's not a one-man job. I have great support from the community, and I have had a great coaching staff to work with and a great school to be a part of. And, I no way on God's green earth could I have done this without all the support that I've had through these years.
Yeah, he's got his hand in everything, that's for sure. Coach, I mentioned kind of the geographic part of where Reidsville is, but why don't you tell the listeners out there, give a little bit of description of the town and how football fits into the fabric of the town there?
Yeah, football has been obviously a very big part of the city of Reidsville since the inception of high school, I guess, in this county. Reidsville was built around a tobacco plant, and just like a lot of small towns, a tobacco plant got moved, and it's basically become a bedroom community more than anything else for cities like Greensboro and Danville. But on Friday nights, the community turns out at Community Stadium and really supports us. Like I said, on Friday nights, the town pretty much shuts down, and folks come to Community Stadium to support the Reidsville Rams. And again, that's another great part of what I do is the community support, and you see it every Friday night in the stands.
Yeah, it's not your name's on this award, but a lot of, as I've been saying to all the coaches I've been interviewing, it's kind of a partnership award, if you will. You just, because you're the head coach, get your name out there on that. By the way, folks, Reidsville, the most state football titles in the state of North Carolina. Jimmy Teague on the line, the Carolina Panthers Coach of the Year. And take us back, almost 3 decades to when you got there. Like I said, you've had 2 stints. But what were some of the things that you did right when you first started got things going with the Rams?
Yeah, when I arrived in Reidsville in 1992 and said we were going to throw the football, people looked at me like I was kind of crazy. Prior to me coming, they were just a turnaround and smash mouth type team. But when I saw the athletes that we had on the field, and we were at that time blessed with a really good quarterback by the name of Brian Turner, that if we were going to move to the next level, we needed to start throwing the football. And that first year, we found a guy by the name of Nate Brown, who was primarily had been a baseball player, and they ended up playing in the NFL for a couple of years. And, when we found Nate as a receiver, that kind of also got us going. And, when people started seeing the success we had by not just running the football, but also throwing it, I think that kind of is what got us over the top. And I also say this about our kids, we've got tough-minded kids, and we say all the time we've never won a state title without a great defense, and the defensive mentality I think fits our kids really well. They're really tough-minded, and and don't back down to many folks. And I think that's another reason why it's had such great success.
And I think I saw an interview with you. Obviously, the assistants make a big part of this. Like I said, it's kind of a partnership award, a group award, whatever you want to call it. But I think I read a story where you were just saying that you really have a family when it comes to the staff. You've got real family there, and you are a family. Explain your philosophy when it comes to your assistants and putting it together and what you've been able to do through the years. I'm assuming you got some guys that have been with you for a while too. So get some names in there for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with my real family. I also tell people all the time how blessed I've been. Not many dads get to spend their sons' teenage years as close as I did. I was able to coach both my sons, and then my youngest, Eric, has been on staff with us now since he graduated from college, and I think he's finishing his 12th year with us right now. And again, what a blessing it is to have him first of all to coach him, and then also to have him on staff. And then, one of my philosophies has always been as a coach is if you can hire a guy that's got community ties, you got a great chance of keeping him on staff. And so most of our guys played here at Reidsville. And again, Steve Knowles, Eric Greer, Justin Jackson, Jamie Jackson, all those guys, Ivan Courts, all played at Reidsville High School and now are back on the staff. And I think that's another reason why I've had such great continuity on the staff. And then my two older guys, Doug Mars and Al Hendricks, have been with me, pretty much the whole time. Doug and I actually played against each other in college. Didn't realize it till we got together as coaches. He played up in Bluefield, Virginia, and I played at Guilford College. So we actually played against each other in college. Didn't even realize it. And so those two guys have really been anchors on the staff for as long as I've been here too, and it's a great privilege to have those guys and the experience they bring to us as well.
One of the beauties of high school football, all those relationships and long-term relationships. Hey, Coach, who made an impression on you when it comes to the coach that you are now? Is there a guy from way back when, maybe even youth in high school or college? Who have you borrowed a few things from to make you the coach that you are nowadays?
Yeah, three names come to mind. My high school coach, Sam Story, who obviously was a big part of my high school career, but then also, when I got into coaching, I would call and talk to him about his philosophies and that kind of thing. And some of the things we do today, we actually did still back all the way to high school. And, he's now retired and he lives in Burlington, which is not very far away. And we stay in touch very regularly. And, again, he's been probably one of the biggest influences. The first guy I worked with is by the name of Gary Weller down in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And Gary also was a big influence on me, especially those first few years when I was out of college, thinking I knew everything and realizing I didn't as a coach. And he really got me off to a great start in the coaching profession. And then Dave Gutshaw was another guy who I've kind of leaned on a lot. He was a great high school coach in North Carolina, but also in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And, I spent a lot of time with Dave. He's the kind of the guy I went to for X and O information and that kind of thing. But those are probably the three guys that influenced me the most in my coaching career.
Yeah, Coach Gutshaw, I think 400-plus wins in his career. You're closing in on that, so we wish you good luck on that climb. Hey, I told you before we started rolling tape here that we wanted to get as much in as we could, coaches and players, and I wish you could name every player on this year's team. You came up, you got to the finals this year, runner-up finish, but I'd like you to take a few moments here to maybe salute some of your players, maybe captains, guys that were leaders on this team that made a difference for the Rams. So if you can narrow it down, I know it's a tough job, but and I don't mean to offend anybody that doesn't get their name mentioned, but we'd like to get some of those players in here too.
Right. Obviously, our seniors, we say all the time, are the guys that are the leaders. And we had two linemen, Nasir Kelly and Nashawn Price, who pretty much have started since they were sophomores on the team and really were the leaders of our offense and both our defensive line as well. And I coached the offensive line, so I got to work with those guys every day on a one-on-one basis too. And I know we wouldn't have had the success that we had on the field without those two guys' leadership, not just their playing ability, but their leadership as well. And then we also had some other guys, J.D. McCain, a free safety receiver, another senior for us became quite a leader, and Tamir Johnson, a linebacker receiver, who again, both those guys also have started since they were both pretty much sophomores. And again, we don't really have true game captains, but those four guys, as far as our senior leadership, were the guys that we relied on to help us to get to where we got to, which was obviously one game short of bringing another state title back to Reidsville.
Yep, just missed number 9 this year. Coach, I'm going to have you put on the ambassador hat for North Carolina high school football again, because you've been around the bend once or twice in the state there with 26 years. As I've moved back to Georgia here and have gotten a little closer to the state, I've seen some real growth in the state of North Carolina in high school football, and I'd love to get your take on it from top to bottom. What do you think is good about North Carolina? Why is it growing as well as it is, I think?
Well, again, I think, number one, football teaches young boys how to become young men. And, I think the attitude of most of the coaches in the state of North Carolina are just that. We're here, obviously, to win football games, but we're also here to help our young men become truly men in our community. And some of the best things that obviously happen to I think any of us in the state of North Carolina is when we see one of our guys graduate and go to college and come back and become great young men in our communities. And, I think that's one of the reasons why we all do what we do. It's not for the money. It's not for any of the other things. It's to help young men. And again, I think the state of North Carolina is blessed to have a great group of coaches, and I've been, again, blessed that some of the guys that I've worked with are now out being head coaches themselves and doing those same things. And I think that's probably the number one thing I would say about our state is how our coaches help young men become men. And I think the other thing that's helped through my time is the development of the North Carolina Coaches Association, Football Coaches Association, and we meet yearly and, make recommendations to the High School Athletic Association about how we can improve our game in our state. And one of the big proposals right now is expanding from 4 classifications to 7 to help because, there's such a wide difference in attendance from the big 4A schools in the Charlotte, Raleigh areas to the real small schools. And so hopefully adding those another 2 or 3 classifications would help the overall programs in the state of North Carolina, not just the ones that are being successful right now as well.
Sure, you used to have a few more classifications, and now you're down to 4. Hey, Coach, I would assume the Panthers, the team that named you Coach of the Year, has had a role too, reaching down into the state, not only North Carolina but South Carolina with some of their Coach of the Week awards and all that. My question is this: what does it mean to you as a high school football coach to have the NFL reaching down into the roots of the game?
Well, it's a very big part, and I think, again, most of our guys obviously watch NFL and college football, and I think they've become great partners with us in high school football. And I think you'll see maybe as early as next year that maybe our state championship games may even get moved to the Panther Stadium down there in Charlotte, which will be a great experience for anybody playing in the state championship game. I know that's one of their goals, is to become even more involved. And just like you said, with the Coach of the Week thing and the things they've done to partner with high school football, and just to show us how important they think football is, not just at their level, but all the way down to our level. And again, I greatly appreciate them recognizing me for what I've done, and recognizing, again, like we talked about a few minutes ago, it's not just me, but recognizing what our school does and what our community does to help high school football. And again, it's a great honor to be a part of that.
Yeah, no doubt. You've been surprised a couple of times, I've read, and getting ready for this interview. Obviously, the Coach of the Year award, but field named after you. What's it like to coach on a field that's named after yourself? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, again, when I started this thing, and I've been doing it totally for 43 years. I just finished my 43rd year when you add the assistant stuff in there with it. But who would have thought when I started back in 1980 that they would name a field after me? And again, that was a big shock last year when they did that for me. And I think again, it's the good Lord blessing me more than anything else. I've tried my best to again do it the best way that I know how to do it, and and then again, just it's very humbling when those type things happen, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be able to be a part of such a great program and such a great community.
And as we go away here, I'm going to ask you the question I'm asking everyone, because obviously you talked about how honored you are and humbled you are to win this award. But now you're a finalist for the Don Shula NFL High School Coach of the Year Award. When Don Shula rings in people's ears, certain things get conjured up, obviously, those great Dolphin teams and whatnot. What's it like to have your name said in the same breath as Don Shula?
Yeah, when I was a young kid growing up, I was a Baltimore Colt fan, and Don Shula was the coach of the Colts at that time. And then he went on to coach the Dolphins, like you said. But Don Shula is a name that when you mention that word to me, that's takes me back all the way to my young days. This great game of football has been a part of my life. My mom tells a story about when I was a young boy. Some kids go to bed with a doll or an animal, or they had their blanket. I went to sleep every night with a football in my hand. That's how far back that football has been in part of my life. And to be mentioned even in the same breath of Don Shula it staggers my mind to even think that my name would be mentioned with Don Shula's name, which probably in my opinion, if not, I know there's a lot of great coaches, but there's none I wouldn't think any higher than Don Shula is.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, Coach, congratulations on the award. Best of luck as it comes down to the announcement of who wins the awards coming up at the end of the month. But most importantly, as I've said to all of the coaches I've been interviewing over the last couple of weeks, thank you for, giving of your time. I know you mentioned during the interview here that your family's involved, obviously, but you're giving of your time to a second family and for so long, and we appreciate you for doing that. And thank you for taking the time with us today.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you covering high school football and letting people know a little bit about Reidsville. Thank you a lot.
You're very welcome. That's the NFL Play Football Podcast. Coaches, don't forget to check out playfootball.nfl.com for some great resources to help you improve in the coaching profession. I'm Jeff Fisher of High School Football America, and you've been listening to the NFL Play Football Podcast.